Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a great time at SRECon. I am Pooja Tangi, and I'm a technical program manager supporting the SRE organization at LinkedIn. Does anybody know what this meme is about? I'm sure you've seen this yesterday as well. Yes, it's called Dog on Fire. Everything is on fire, but this is fine. And I'm here to prove otherwise. Today, my talk is about feedback loops and how SREs can leverage them to extinguish that fire. You know that feeling when your manager comes to your desk, asks you to adopt this new, shiny tool. You're excited. You want to make this work. However, after plugging it into your system, you realize this tool is a piece of shit. And it's just causing outages after outages, bringing down all your systems. Everything is on fire, but this is fine. This is normal. So rather than going and talking to the manager of the dev team who is building out this tool, you just devise a million workarounds and try to make this work. You sit behind your desk, complain about it to your colleagues, but who cares? Why should I file a bug? It's just going to lie in their backlog for, 2 years. The trend I see here is everybody, each one of us, is waiting for somebody else to go ahead and fix this problem. We have all been in these terrible situations. And if all of us are just waiting for someone else to step up and fix the problem, we somehow become part of the problem. As the famous saying goes, if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. The truth isn't that the responsible team is not working on fixes. The truth may be that they are completely blindsided. They don't even know about these issues. This Johari window model summarizes the areas that I, as a developer, know versus what my team knows versus what the users know. And as an SRE, I'm engrossed building things in the same way and fixing things in the exact same way each and every day that I forget that I'm creating these blind spots and I'm drowning in a sea of unknowns. We don't want to step outside our comfort zone. Go talk to the other team and ask them how they are using the tool. We don't want to talk to the team that is just the next aisle over and see how they're solving similar problems. Even within our own team, sometimes we are creating communication gap. And what happens is we get blindsided because our team members as well are not voicing their opinion. They maybe don't have proper channels, or there's lack of trust, or just lack of responsibility. Not my problem. People just walk away and use the same incompetent tool day after day. What we need is open enough communication to build that trust and more feedbacks so that we could understand what these unknowns are and make them more transparent and known. From different teams and projects that I have interacted with, I have learned that there are widespread issues affecting pockets of individuals in different teams. And these teams might not even know each other. They are unaware that other people are having the same problems. As a user, as an individual, I'm frustrated that I don't have an immediate solution. And I want more top-down and bottom-up communication about the whole situation. We as SREs are constantly firefighting. And we have one-off meetings and point-in-time metrics to fix these things. However, these kind of fast feedback loops miss opportunities that the masses could benefit by preventing rollout of incompetent tools. What is required is an open, iterative feedback loop that would provide course correction. This is what's worked for me. A simple 5-step plan to implement a feedback loop. Approach the feedback. Remove the facade. Isolate and triage the issue. Know who your audience is. And then just roll out the solution. Step 1 is to approach the feedback. Identify what the real problem is in your system. And then collaboratively agree that we have a problem. Back in the day when I was an SRE myself, we had a dev team that we were supporting who was on a monthly deployment cycle. It was the most stressful time. We dreaded the release cycle. Worst was the on-call week after that, where 24/7 you're sitting in front of a computer, dialed into the war room, and the devs are going, hey, try this fix in prod. That didn't work. Roll it back. It was a bloody nightmare of roll forwards, roll backs, hot fixes. I mean, my boyfriend almost dumped me because of all that. Everything was on fire, and I wasn't okay with it anymore. Relationships were going haywire even within teams. The engineers would say, hey, SREs need to automate their deployments more. And devs were always pushing things in prod. SREs were like, these devs should be fired. QA, nobody knew what QA was really doing. The site felt like a leaky dam, and we were running out of hands to cover up those holes. I wanted to highlight the underlying problem, and I wanted us to agree that we have a problem and we needed a fix. I tried a lot of different things, but here's what worked for me. I leveraged every interface we had with the devs, and I tried to get it out there, all the common issues that we were facing. Ops review, weekly, semi-weekly, we were bringing up every on-call issue that was categorized with deployment as the root cause failure. Any incidents, any outages, daily stand-ups, and weekly staff meetings with engineering upper management, we would bring a list of all the deployment blockers, prioritize them, and we refused to deploy until the P0s and P1s were resolved. The engineers felt the burden, and outside we were talking to different teams who had adopted continuous integration. We could show the difference in the stability of the sites. Eventually, the data didn't lie, and the upper management agreed we needed a change. And maybe CI was one of the ways. This project is very close to my heart. It's what really inspired me to become a program manager. I wanted to fix things around me. And being a program manager meant leveraging those skill sets. Also, I didn't have to be on call anymore, so that worked out. Moving on, steps 2 and 3 are about removing the facade and isolating the issue. Another story that comes to mind is when I switched jobs, and a few months into my new job, I was assigned a project to deliver an SRE alerting tool. The team was really small who was working on this, and the lead SRE was working remotely. It had been a year and a half, and nothing was being delivered. It was a simple alerting tool. I engaged with the lead SRE, tried to get stuff out of him, but it was so hard. I talked to the team members. They knew very little as well. I talked to the lead SRE's manager, and he assumed everything was on autopilot, everything should have been delivered just as promised. I knew something was fishy. I had to remove the facade and show the upper management what was going on behind the scenes. It was a real shit show. I talked to the SREs outside our team, did one-on-ones, group feedbacks, asked them the actual value of this tool and the code quality. The truth was, the code was being built in a vacuum. No user input was being included. The number of bugs were piling up. The delivery date was a joke. All in all, this lead SRE was hiding somewhere remote with all this unusable code, and making a million promises. It was clear it wasn't a code problem, it was more of a people problem. My next step was to compose a thesis and isolate and triage the issue. In such dire situations, it's hard, but you have to assume positive intent, and you have to stay focused on the real problem. To isolate the issue, I wanted to know what was the word on the street. What did people want out of this tool? We conducted SRE-wide surveys to gather up all that data. Should we even build this in-house anymore? Should we have an end-to-end makeover? Possibly have a new team with strong leadership and positive attitude. We weighed the pros and cons and presented a cost-opportunity analysis to the execs. The different options were, option 1, we could just reinvest in the existing code. Option 2, just buy something off the shelf. Instead, we went with option 3, build it from scratch, build it in-house, and build it with a brand new team. Finally, after having new resources and a fresh mindset, we were able to deliver the MVP in the following quarter. The next step is about knowing who your audience is, who will help you roll out the real solution. This kind of feedback loop doesn't have to be restricted to a product or a tool. It can very well be applied to an existing process. A third story, and I promise this is the last one, that comes to mind is around technical debt cleanup. Raise your hand if you love to clean up tech debt. You all are all liars, whoever raised their hands, because you wish somebody else would clean it up for you. It's not the shiniest thing you would like to work on, right? Imagine that as an engineer, 10% of your time per quarter is reserved for tech debt cleanup. However, as an SRE, you are not consulted in the first place because you don't own the legacy code. The developers do. And when you're pushing out old cruddy code, there are multiple outages, and as SREs, you end up cleaning it all. And this time is never estimated. It trickles down to, as an SRE, due to this over-allocation issue, who should I talk to? Should I raise it with my manager and upper management? Should I go talk to the other SREs and see if they are also just as overburdened? I was in a similar situation recently, and one major step was to identify who my audience was. In this case, we had 3 major players. The centralized committee, who was pushing out these tech debt initiatives, the SRE execs, who would validate the approach and see if this actually relieves SREs from the impact, and the SREs themselves, who will provide with the work estimations. As SREs, we are always the last ones to hear what we need to deliver by end of the day. While this is what makes us best at executing unplanned work, it's always better to maximize the planned work. Somebody had to connect the dots and present the pain points and the missed estimations to the centralized committee. And this would also require sponsorship from the SRE execs to execute this kind of a feedback loop. It's a lot to get buy-in from all 3 parties, but luckily, my manager and his manager were super helpful and very supportive. Also, nobody says no to a pregnant lady, right? After presenting the proposal with possible solutions, we went with the simplest solution. The concept was to insert an SRE TPM, Technical Program Manager, into the centralized committee, and this person would help gather data on the upcoming initiatives way up front and communicate it out to the SREs. This way, SREs had a chance to raise red flags, calculate their work estimations, they get a head start, and plan better for the upcoming quarter. This feedback loop was rolled out last month, and I discovered a lot of kinks along the way. However, we had to keep doing course correction and get it back on track. End of the day, I saw some brilliant conversations between SREs and the centralized committee. It was an eye-opener for them what SREs had to go through just to get a simple code change out. You need a feedback loop like this to convert all that firefighting into more planned work. Learnings from my experiences. Don't wait for things to happen to you. Just go out there and make them happen. You will be surprised how many people want to voice their opinion and how many agree that your point of view is the right way to do it. Presented with the right data, there is no denying from upper management that this change is needed. And an effective feedback loop can actually help bring that change in your system. Looking forward, if you want to try this out in your system, what's worked for me was one-on-ones and retrospectives were a great idea to get improvement areas. Creating virtual working groups out of the affected individuals helps collect all their pain points in an open environment and also brainstorm solutions. Roadshows, newsletters, weekly updates were a very good medium to evangelize a process change and to get buy-in from different teams. Love him or hate him, as Elon Musk said, it's very important to have a feedback loop when you're constantly thinking about what you have done and how you could be doing it better. Thanks, everybody, for attending my talk. I hope you feel inspired enough to go ahead and fix that damn tool or process in your system. Feel empowered each day to make this world better for you and for your fellow SREs. Thanks. Any questions? Awesome. Very good. Can you just take that off? Oh, there's somebody.
I know sometimes you can have difficult employees on different teams. How did you resolve like conflicts between toxic events that happened as a result of this?
Yes, there were a lot of conflict resolutions, but one of the best ways to do that was understanding from the other person's perspective and what is called as a clean escalation, where you agree if this can't be resolved between two people, how to bring it up to the upper management and then try to get it resolved in a clean fashion. Think we're good? We have 5 minutes. If you want to, you can reach me out there as well if you have any questions. Okay? Thanks.